So this is the DLB radio show, March 11, 2011, 8 p.m. in the U.S. Eastern Standard Time, and March 12, 2017, 9 a.m. in Manila time. And we're coming live tonight with DJ Rami, our guest host Priscilla Willer, and myself, DJ Mercy. And we sure have a wonderful, I think we all always have a wonderful topic, but this one is really special with our topic of New Heaven, New Earth, God's Revolution. It's going to be an interesting evening, to say the least. What do you think, Rami?
Well, first of all, it's so nice to be back. And for this show and succeeding shows, I promise not to use any word or term without explaining it in the most simple way. So when we say New Heaven, New Earth, God's Revolution, then my intention is to really talk about it and explain it and put it down into things that we can all relate to. No more fluffy concepts.
Awesome. It would help me a lot too. You know, sometimes I listen to some concepts that my first reaction is, and how do I make it into my life? How does that look in my life? Or how does that really look in earth terms?
Very well. So let me begin with trying to describe New Heaven, New Earth, and Revolution, just to set a platform where we can all discuss the topic. By the way, for the listeners, after about 20 minutes, we'll open the floor to questions and answers. More time for Q&A for everyone participating. So let's talk about New Heaven, New Earth. Let me give an introduction. The term New Heaven, New Earth was mentioned in chapter 21 of Revelation. So this is a fast forward to a time where the Golden City was described. And after all the many things that happened with nations, there were destructions. Here comes New Heaven, New Earth. Now, New Heaven, New Earth, while a lot of people think of it as a physical place, it is first and foremost a kind of consciousness. Now, a kind of consciousness is always projected outward, and that becomes 3D reality. So if you want to change your reality, you have to go within where the projector is, tinker with the projector, and then out comes a new reality. And this New Heaven, New Earth is a consciousness where the conscious mind of people merge with the superconscious mind. There is a consciousness of oneness. So there I go again with terms. So let me explain. It is called God's Revolution because in our lives there is always a tendency to want to separate or sever. I want to separate from something, or I want to sever something from us. And this is very evident in day-to-day things. For example, when I post something and someone reacts, let's say on a political issue, sometimes I want to sever that person because I didn't like the comment, or it wasn't, the same as my comment. Or I see somebody posting something, I don't like it, I want to leave. So all of these separations happen in our lives. And let me give you two stories. One story was about two brothers an older and a younger one, and they were arguing about a small piece of property. The conversation came to a point where the older brother said to the younger brother, "From now on, I will no longer consider you as my brother, and you are no longer part of the family." And so the younger brother left. And when I met the younger brother, he was thinking of contacting relatives to explain his side. He was feeling so bad because it wasn't really totally his fault. But I said to him, sooner or later, you will get a lot of your relatives on your side, and all of you will begin fighting. You will divide the family. Let's think of a third option that does not cause separation nor severing. And that third option is the revolution, the idea of a revolution. Because here is the younger brother who is now a rebel, has been taken out of the status quo. And here is the status quo wanting to sever anything that goes against it. On the side of the status quo, it is always good to think about those who have left the flock and wonder why they have left the flock. And to look within and find out what they have or haven't done that caused this separation or this rebellion. On both sides of the pendulum, let's say on the left side is rebellion, the right side is the status quo. Mm-hmm. We see acts of separation, and that is, as we call it, the AC or the Antichrist or the anti-Oneness. So whether I am part of the status quo who is ambivalent to the rebellion, or I am the rebel, whichever way, that is still an expression of anti-oneness. The expression of oneness comes when the rebel realizes that it is better to come to the middle. I mean, the older brother will not accept him at this moment, but at least come to the middle, not want to keep on severing or chopping off or enticing other people to come with him. And then, coming from the point of the status quo, to start realizing that when I keep on cutting myself, at one point in time, I'm by. It's very, very clear. Later on, the rebel masses more people, and the rebel becomes the status quo, and the pendulum just keeps on swinging left and right, with no end to it. Therefore, we must find a way to stop severing ourselves and stop separating other people from ourselves. It can be as simple as, I think about 2 weeks ago, there were huge demonstrations in Manila and parts of the world in line with EDSA Revolution. And I met somebody, and I said, and she said that she was going to attend one of the demonstrations. I said, why? Because I hate the president. I hate what he stands for. I hate everything about him. I want to take him out. You see, so these separations and severing happen almost every day, every minute in our lives. It's a matter of being aware of it. At one point, do we want to keep on chopping ourselves? And what point do we want to keep on separating ourselves? And so that is the background of New Heaven, New Earth, and God's revolution. So I'd like to talk a bit more about expressions of revolution. What's your take on New Heaven, New Earth, Mercy?
Well, you know, I'm going to welcome Priscilla, which is our guest host. She's finally here with us, and let me just get her out of the mute button. Priscilla? Oops. Priscilla?
Yes. Hi,
Welcome.
how are you? Thank you.
We're just starting out, and Rami, we're explaining a little bit of the new heaven and new earth. And so welcome to our show. This is the first show that we have a guest host, so you'll know. Anyone wants to be a guest host, just have to tell Rami or me, and we'll gladly add you to our show. So let me answer a little bit about what I see as a new heaven. For me, it took a while because I was coming from a vision. I was coming from an outside vision, almost like if you're dreaming something, right? And so it becomes really not real. It becomes more of, oh wow, the moment in the eons from now when we really are in oneness and the city. And I would have a concept that it would not be this earth. And if it was this earth, it would have been thousands of years already. Because I just couldn't put it together as saying, in this earth, with all this, just like you, Rami, looking at all these chaos and political arena and people still cutting themselves from friends because someone posted something in Facebook, and even families get into feuds just because of outsiders and political views or belief system. And so it took me a while to really say, I don't think, or many times I would say, I don't think that's possible. And if it's possible, it's going to be thousands of years from now. It's not going to be in this lifetime, so why even bother? So that was my journey to new heaven and new earth concept. It took me an inner transformation to understand the many different meanings that new heaven and earth can have. And then from there, it was like stepping stones, right? It was like a step, progressive steps that would bring me to another awareness that allow me to take it from this etherical vision into my inner concept and belief that I'm already in the new heaven and new earth. Interesting, before I give it to Priscilla or DJ Rami, that as I was preparing for this show, I went to see La La Land. Saw it twice. It hooked me. But there is a piece that really got me, because we were talking about God's revolution. And in that piece is John Lennon that is telling the Ryan Gosling character, you're wanting to save jazz, and you're not understanding to save jazz, you have to be a revolutionary. And at the same time, realizing that your heroes, there are jazz singers and players of the time, those heroes of jazz, were themselves revolutionaries. And that's why jazz became jazz, and why jazz was able to evolve. And that stuck in my mind, even with not only this topic for DLB, but for so many other things that we're thinking we need to keep it traditional. We have to keep the container the same way. We have to honor the traditions that we have been given, and thus we may get stuck in that status quo instead of looking for new ways to evolve that we have been given from our traditional or conventional ways. So with that, I'm going to give it back to you, DJ Rami, or if Priscilla would like to add some of her input here.
Go ahead, Priscilla. What's your take on New Heaven, New Earth and God's revolution?
Sorry, Priscilla, I think I had you on mute. Hold on.
My take on New Heaven and Earth, New Heaven and New Earth, similar to Mercy at first, I thought how could that ever be possible? And then I had a thought or memory of what it was like as a child, having fun in the playground and being carefree, not having any real fears or judgments, just running in the sand, doing cartwheels, jumping up and down. My biggest thing at that time as a child was gymnastics and learning the next new thing, not even worried about falling on my head. I wasn't even a care or a thought or a fear, just figured everyone was the same. They loved everyone and everything equally, freely, very raw and sincere at the heart. And that flash of what it was like as a kid really brought into my awareness and understanding of this new shift in consciousness, and also remembrance. So remembering what it's like to be that carefree child, raw and honest and pure, and bringing that, I guess, that awakening and remembrance, peeling back all those layers that we've created over time, and looking at it from a new lens, a new perspective, that would be the revolution. Remembering that a great saying I like is that old ways will not open new doors. So with that, that would be the revolution, finding new ways to remember what it's like to be that carefree child, one with the all.
Great insight, Priscilla. DJ Rami?
I want to ask Priscilla a question. If you look back this week, can you identify an instance where you wanted to separate from something or sever something from yourself?
Very good question, Rami. Yes. I'm currently going through a career change, and every part of myself wanted to separate from the idea of actually working for someone else and working under a corporation or a company. And the reality is that what came forward was just the fear of getting back out there and trusting, putting that trust and faith in an employer. My previous experience with a company that I was with really tested me to the core, a lot of my own inner disconnections, beliefs, and there was I had seen a disconnection of trust and honesty, not only from with them, because obviously they were a mirror for me, but within myself as well. So every part of me wanted to, even though I was offered the job, there was still that part of me was like screaming, no, 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 you don't want to work for these people. You can't trust them. So yeah, that would be the main thing sticking out in my mind that happened this week. What about you, Remy?
Well, I don't know what part of the story you heard about the two brothers, but what you suggested, or what you explained, I'm sorry, there's an echo somewhere.
I'll mute myself.
Yeah. What you just described is very similar to the situation with the younger brother, the rebel, the one who got severed from the family. And there's really not much at that point that the younger brother could do. He had to return something. So I said, why don't you go and return it? I mean, it's the right thing to do. And he said, I'm going to do it in my own time. Just in my own time. So you see that kind of resistance. And so I said, please just let go, return it, because that is the right thing to do. And then let's deal with how you're feeling. At the end of the day, it is very obvious that the younger brother, who is wanting to contact all of the other relatives and to tell all of the other relatives what happened, it is very obvious that one thing he needed was someone to listen to him. And that is exactly what I offered. I said, I understand where you're coming from. I know how you're feeling. And that is the same thing that is missing inside of us. That kind of listening presence to begin with, which is the same thing that you started doing. You started listening to that part who's crying and saying, I can't trust them. Until the more mature part of us says, what is it that you can trust? Where did you get hurt? How do you feel like no one is with you? Or what is it that the status quo is doing? And then I take it from the other side. I look at the status quo, and I also see fear. Fear of older brother, right? So the fear of dying, the fear of not being able to leave things in the right place. So all of those must come together. And that is how the revolution begins, that kind of expansive consciousness that can accommodate everything. So oneness consciousness already exists in all of us. It is just a question of how broad we can take this oneness consciousness and have a space for everything. Broad enough until it expands to infinity. That is how far oneness consciousness is. So at the moment, it can be just me and versus you. Then I take in you. Then I take in my family, which is the common thing. I love my children. I don't love your children. They are your children. These are my children. And then we expand some more. We take everyone's children in, the community in, everyone on Facebook in, the country, and the world, and everything else in the universe. That is the kind of revolution that will bring about new heaven, new earth. Not just a small new heaven, new earth in our homes, but to include as much as we can, more and more, into that kind of acceptance. How about you, DJ Mercy? What are your thoughts on oneness as a response, as a revolutionary response? How do you go about it? Any separations this week, recently?
Oh my God, when you get yourself into the awareness of cutting yourself up, or how you cut yourself up, people, boy, does it come like a downpour. And so, yes, I had plenty of opportunities that the universe gladly brings me every day, including even just a moment ago as I was sharing with an IM group, chit-chatting, and they don't even know that they were giving me some insights on my own separations. It is really interesting for me because the moment that it comes into my consciousness, and I think, Rami, you posted something about the flower of life, and where you could just look at it in a three-dimensional and look and see what you got from the picture and the diagram. At that moment, I click into seeing our net, the connection that we all have, right? A net. And those little points as we connect being flowers in itself, flower of life. And then I realized, oh my God, so I am disconnecting when I don't care to hear someone's spilling out their anger, or I am wanting to sever myself when I hear in the news or someone talking that makes no sense, that makes you want to slap them, right? And then you realize you're slapping yourself. And so it's been a revolutionary new view of looking at what's really happening inside of me. Why am I wanting to judge, or why am I wanting to place labels, or why would I want not to listen to someone that may not be saying something I care to hear? So it's been a real interesting observing of how much the resistance comes within you to say, oh, but I don't want to get into that energy, or oh, but I need to talk because someone has to straighten the situation, or someone has to correct. And so it's been a very interesting observing. And using the word revolution has been a key for me, because then it has made me be aware how we are so unconscious, holding to old structure, and thus we're going to rebel instead of revolutionary. We don't go into a new concept of a vision and surrendering or flowing with it or being creative. We unconsciously hold on to the old stuff that is comfortable, that we think is the way it should be. And then the only other way is cutting yourself off or rebelling, right? And rebelling is just the same thing. So it's been a very interesting 2 weeks, I guess, especially as I'm here at the, been working with the ARE and the Edgar Cayce Foundation. So it's been a very interesting way to see my daily life and what can I do to be more a revolutionary versus a rebel.
That 3D picture of the flower of life, it's posted on DLB group. I'll make sure that I comment on it so it goes to the top and you all see that 3D illusion photo if you haven't yet. It's interesting because I used to see myself as one point in the flower of life, one petal. And then when I saw the 3D illusion and how connected we really all are, that's where I started to see that every time I separate myself from something or I sever someone from myself, I put a cut in the flower and it starts to bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. So from a consciousness that I'm just one point, I am here and you are there, I started thinking of myself as the entire flower. You know? That I am both the younger brother and the older brother. And so, going back to the rebel, a rebel is someone who is disillusioned, and that's why he separates himself. Whereas the revolutionary response is to have a vision. And that vision is to see a world where we no longer have to, we are no longer in the culture of cutting ourselves and separating ourselves from each other. And by carrying that kind of vision, that alone is projected to the grid, the entire flower of life. And soon we wake up one day with a world that has that kind of culture. How about you, Priscilla? Anything to add before we open the floor to the listeners for Q&A? Mercy, is Priscilla on mute?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute her, but it's, I don't know if she's doing it at the same time I'm doing. Ah, there you go.
There I am. There was some background noise, so I muted. Actually, it's something that a story in just how connected we are. You know, consciousness is a little story I'd like to add. That in the healing classes that I've taken, it's a story that the founder of the system that I have been certified in shared. So he explained how there was a hospital out in Germany that a lot of people were born in. And what happened was, over about 50 years worth of time, this hospital was torn down. And in that 50 years, there was a chemical power plant that was put in place of that. So at a place where people were born, and within that 50 years of that power plant being there, a lot of people that were born in that hospital, where it had stood, had ended up passing away from cancer. So they explain how powerful consciousness is, and that how we're so interconnected, not just with each other, but with the environment as well. So when I think of oneness and I think of our connection collectively, that story comes to mind.
I'm glad you mentioned cancer. That's one sec. Priscilla, could you turn off your mic? Thank you. Cancer is a physical manifestation of a long-playing wanting to sever somebody or something from our life. It is because energy, once we express it, let's say I express wanting to separate, it doesn't flow out into the sky and leave us. What happens is it enters our cells and becomes part of our memory, becomes a physical part of our body. And so this long-playing wanting to sever manifests as a tumor, and then go to a doctor and say, "Doc, can you slice this up for me?" At the same time, the cancer cell acts like a rebellion. And here comes the status quo immune system trying to quell that rebellion. In fact, the one thing that the younger brother listened to was health. I told the younger brother, number one, your health will suffer. Number two, you will be less prosperous. And because of that, the younger brother agreed to, look at things from a more oneness point of view. Whether the person expanded his consciousness, I don't know. But at least from that point, health and prosperity, he had a change in him. And so, Mercy, is there anything that you want to add, or would you like to open the floor to the listeners?
I think it's time to open the floor to the listener, as been chit-chatting for a while. So let me see here. Anyone would want to contribute, share, or have a question? I'll gladly unmute you if you let me know, so that we don't have too much interference. Or I can unmute everyone, and then you tell me who wants to. Okay. Well, I'm not getting anyone, any questions or answers, guys? You have any questions? This is why we make it live.
Hi, Mercy.
Hi, Toyanne.
Priscilla and Rami, thank you for the DLB radio show. I just wanted to add, to share something with an experience that I've been having also. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah. Okay, good. So I have the experience, today I had a big awareness of my separation with social media. This is something that we were just discussing earlier today. And I feel like there was a big breakthrough in this because I started to see where even in the smallest things where there's separation or belief systems that I may have received through my upbringing, whether it be through parents or through religion, that have created separation in me with others, as well as, of course, within myself. And so, to give it context, the discussion about social media is about just posting videos, quality content, and being transparent, stepping out there in the public and being comfortable with being seen. And knowing how the millennial or the millennial generation is, I noticed how I would project millennials to be external while at the same time I'm also a millennial. So I saw a separation there, seeing myself as more righteous because they're out on Facebook. There was a separation in belief about what was right, what was wrong, about posting one's life in the public. And so there I started to see how I was projecting outwardly the separation with, this aspect of myself that I was not owning. And realized at that time when I had this discussion with you, Mercy, of how I was putting myself in a box and not allowing myself to see that which was out there in me. And so because of seeing that, I'm able to now feel more comfortable with unraveling creativity and expressing beauty or expressing myself through the social media channels. And being in contact with myself as a millennial will allow me to connect with other millennials or others because I've started to own that within myself. So I just wanted to share about the oneness, to add to that with what you guys were saying about my experience. Thank you.
TA, thank you very much. That's a very good example. One quality of being on the status quo is actually ambivalence. So self-righteousness and ambivalence, meaning I don't care about your level of consciousness, whether you get me or not. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say what I want to say, even if it doesn't appeal to you. Maybe eventually it will appeal to you. That is the kind of ambivalence that the status quo has. And without noticing, it is the status quo or myself, I am actually already severing parts of me. Whereas a better approach would be to understand, get into the shoes of different generations, different age groups. And if my intention is really to reach out, then I should be able to go to each and every one in the language that they understand. In fact, that's been mentioned a lot of times in the Bible when God spoke about different tongues to different nations, not just one language. So that's a great example. Anyone else from the listeners?
And the silence came through. No more. What's going on here?
No, that's okay. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, hi, Felipe.
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Felipe.
Well, I have an experience as recent as this afternoon, as a matter of fact. And this is something that I oscillate many times, and that is the oscillation between my spiritual persona, the spiritual sense of self, and the more earthly, non-spiritual persona that's within me as well. So sometimes there's a lot of oscillation on that. So, for example, there has been time that I've been so involved in spirituality that I would completely disconnect myself with earthly stuff, as simple as just having a drink, right, or feeling guilty for having a drink, or feeling guilty for having a burger, and doing non-spiritual stuff. So that was something that I allowed, for example, this afternoon to experience myself. Just have a burger, have a drink, and just consciously allow myself to experience that, because that was a part of me that I was separating from, or I continuously oscillate between spirituality and the earthly part of me. So when I allow myself to experience a simple burger and a beer and just experience being in a human body and just loving it, I started feeling more grounded and more aligned with myself. And my spiritual self was more vibrant. I was more awake. I was more aligned. I was happier and more joyful. So that's something that I consider now and just keep in mind whenever I'm in one group or another, whether that be spirituality, whether that be with younger folks, older folks, or specific religion, or whatever the case may be. Just being conscious of the attachment of associating myself with a group or a persona or a sense of self, which unconsciously creates separation with its opposite. So that's what I wanted to share. It was a delicious burger and an amazing beer that I haven't had in a long time. Thank you.
That's a great example, Felipe. And so the question is, when is something spiritual and when is something not spiritual? I think something is a spiritual approach is in seeing everything as a whole without the separation. That is the meaning to say, what you declared as spiritual, these are spiritual stuff, eating a burger is not. The more spiritual approach is to say, even eating the burger and drinking something is all part of spirituality. But what is not spiritual, the way I see it, is imbalance. Meaning to say, once I do too much of something, that creates separations already. In other words, when I do too much of something, the pendulum starts swinging again. It's still part of everything. That's one definition of spirituality. But to raise a consciousness, there has to be balance. Because it is only when the pendulum stops swinging and returns to center that I can raise my consciousness higher and higher. From blame, shame, guilt, anger, going up to love, peace, joy, while still taking on everything. And so I really like that example because I have that kind of tendency. This is work, and that to compartmentalize. That's a great example. What do you think, Mercy?
Well, that brought me to most of my family know I'm not a drinker. The most I drink is a little bit of wine. I do like amaretto on the rock after dinner every so often. But I married someone that does not care for drinking either, because Bert usually never care for a dinner. Every so often also a beer or a white wine. So I don't have that much of a pressure because most people already know that we're really not heavy drinkers. But I realized my union with that came as I was really when the day that I was able to share a party that my brother was having at his house as oneness. I used to go to the party, and 5 minutes later, I just wanted to leave. You know, it felt like their world was not my world. So how can I really get into it? And then one day, it finally clicked, and I was elated. I was having so much fun, and it was the fun that I was having was that I finally had been able to unify these two worlds inside of me. And at the same time, I go to his house when there is family gathering, and they will offer me a drink as any, you know, they offer anyone. And so there are days that I feel, oh, not today. And there are days that I say, you know what, I'll have a glass of wine. And it's almost like the moment that I have it, it feels inside of me that I am sharing a space with them in me, you know? And so it becomes almost like a sacredness of like almost parting the bread when Jesus parted the bread with the apostle. Is that sharing something that makes me also honor that supposedly other world, right? And then it becomes where it's not that I have two worlds inside of me, but I am that same, the same that you were just talking around me. I can have my burger like I had it a few days ago and I enjoyed it. And I can have a glass of wine or my amaretto in the rocks every so often whenever I want to. And it's okay because I'm the all. I am the flower of life with everybody inside, right? Rami?
Yes, that's right. And I'm glad that even that example, I'm glad Felipe brought it up. Timothy, Sergio, anything that you'd like to share? Mercy, can people unmute themselves? Is that doable or?
Yeah, let me just, maybe we have Timothy and
Sergio.
Sergio. Timothy?
Hello. I really don't have any questions. It's just also I realized that spirituality is really about balance. I usually say, no, this is like doing this thing is not spiritual or doing this thing is spiritual. It's like we are causing separation. It's just now I realize that seeing spirituality in our everyday lives that is more meaningful. That is seeing spirituality in every little thing we do.
You know, the nice thing about a burger, wait, we have an echo. The nice thing about a burger and an amaretto or a glass of wine is in really at the moment enjoying the burger and the glass of wine. If I drink a glass of wine and eat a burger and I feel like, oh my God, am I doing something wrong? Then that is not spiritual at all. There is no life in it. In fact, I remember my father, and every time he eats, regardless of what he eats, it's like he is eating the best food in the world, the expression on his face. And that for me is very spiritual. So, Priscilla, anything else that you'd like to share before we close the show?
I'd like to share a little something. Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. It's interesting what Felipe had brought up. Earlier this week, I had a healing session to do inner work. And it's interesting because the last 2 years, what came up was I've been so focused on spiritual inner work that I remember what a friend of mine had said, that you need to balance your life, you need to enjoy life. So go out with your friends and go out on a date, have that burger, have that glass of wine, and do this, go out dancing and go to a nightclub and have some fun, go out dancing. And those things I had stopped doing because I'd been so rigid on inner work, spirituality, and, recognizing that, it's so important to have that balance and to enjoy life. So I just wanted to share how I really identified with that, with what Felipe had said. Thank you.
I think dancing really close.
Which I haven't done to a nightclub and gone dancing in a long time. And that's something I used to love, enjoy doing every once in a while, getting all dressed up in a really nice dress and just dance.
Dancing really close to someone is very spiritual.
There is what they have is near me, you can go dancing where the hour before there's a male and female instructor. They teach you how to the Argentinian waltz, and they give you a quick lesson an hour before, and then everyone who would like to come, they come and they dance. And it was an interesting experience because just a random partner would come to you and you would do the dance. It was interesting because the partner had, I remember one partner he had said, no, allow me, just go with what you feel, allow it to flow, follow my steps. So there's a whole dance of trusting and just feeling through the steps and trusting the movement of that partner as you move as one together to the music. And it was just a really liberating experience as well, because it just allowed me to work through and let go of all these inhibitions that I was had at the time.
So you could dance the same way with employment.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Mercy, last thing, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think we have done a good hour of some chunking down New Heaven and New Earth, God's Revolution. And I know that this is a topic that we will be able to share again and again, because there's so much in this part of understanding the New Heaven and New Earth.
Can we close with a prayer, Mercy?
Yes, Priscilla was going to give us the closing, right?
Yes, I can close with a prayer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So we're going to take a nice big deep breath in, centering ourselves, breathing in and exhaling. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Nice big inhale. And exhale. And the last time, breathing in, inhaling, and exhale. Connecting and grounding. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness, and the light has chosen us. The hand of God delivered his chosen people to the promised land. Remind us, O Lord, of our covenant with you, for our hearts are crying out. Holy, holy, holy Lord God, Alpha and Omega, make your chosen people one. Shield us from our enemies with the might and strength of the armies of angels of the heavenly hosts. Deliver us to the promised land. Amen. Light be in the beginning. Light overpowered the dark. Light gather your chosen ones. Light be in us and in all. Light keep us all safe and whole. Light lead us to our new home. Light make our covenant known. And take another nice big deep breath in. And exhale. And when you're ready, you're welcome to open your eyes. I'd like to say thank you very much to Rami and Mercy for inviting me on the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. That was beautiful. Thank you, DJ Mercy, for a great show today.
Well, thank you everyone to come in, for participating, and of course my partner DJ Rami for bringing us such a wonderful topic, and Priscilla, thank you for bringing in a new perspective to our radio show, guest hosting. It's a great opportunity to expand and see that we can add a community as a guest host, right, Rami?
That's right. Until the next show.
Okay. Good night, good day for everyone. See you next show.